Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Killed IRL and today I'm going to be reacting to a video from Shadiversity. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too much, and if you like this video then perhaps you should check out more stuff from them. A link to this video will be in a pinned comment down below. Without any further ado, let's go. This video is what would a medieval adventurer eat? The reason why I kind of chose this video is pretty much because of the games that I've been playing lately, which is Skyrim, Elder Ring. I love my medieval games.
Shadiversity.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and let's do a deep dive on the types of food a medieval adventurer would eat while travelling and on his adventures. Now, what's fun about this subject is actually kind of also a bit of a broader subject on medieval food, because that's what I'll be focusing on. If we're going to be doing medieval fantasy, let's look at what they actually ate in the medieval period, but even though we're looking more broadly at the medieval period, we're going to be a bit more specific to longer lasting foods that you'd be able to eat while you're traveling. Because
I just want to say, I can't remember where I read this, but I believe a common thing was to have about a pound of meat each day. This might not be a medieval adventurer, this might be for your local town's guard kind of like thing. So if you want to put that into any kind of perspective and everything, simply go to your local McDonald's and order a quarter pounder and just put 4 of those motherfuckers against each other. I don't know, without obviously the bread. Actually no, they probably have the bread too, but without, I don't know. Let's just let the expert continue, because I do not know where I was like going off on that tangent. That's just what I remember from like other stuff in the same kind of field.
the whole
Let me rewind the video back a little
medieval
bit.
fantasy, let's look at what they actually ate in the medieval period, but even though we're looking more broadly at the medieval period, we're going to be a bit more specific to longer lasting foods that you'd be able to eat while you're traveling, because the whole subject of medieval culinary, is that the word? Is very broad, and we won't be covering everything, but we will be covering the types of food that were available in the medieval period and that people were able to use for traveling, for rations that would last longer. And so that means, no, we're not going to be looking at potatoes or tomatoes, no corn, no sugar. Well, it's funny, sugar was very rare in the medieval period.
Can I just say also, this outfit that he's wearing, I fucking love it. This looks sick. Goddamn. Oh, and the dual swords, I don't know if they are of any kind. They're probably from something that I should understand, because I literally see Mjolnir right there. Like, I love his whole background. A lot of books. It's nice to see. I'm not a prolific reader of such, but like, yeah. I don't know where I was going with it. Once again, just continue.
Well, it's funny, sugar was very rare in the medieval period. And also, we wouldn't be looking at the food that's more expensive. We'll be looking for food that is more easily available for the commoner, the adventurer, because they wouldn't be forking out massive amounts of money for the expensive food of the day. So not only will there be foods that you think might have been common but aren't, and so, you know, oh, look, I love Lord of the Rings, it's fantasy, and I guess that's the caveat that should be mentioned. Because, you know, you're dealing in fantasy, you do have the freedom to introduce foods that weren't actually in the medieval period, but if you wanted to give it a more authentic medieval flavour, pun now intended, you would want to use more authentic food. But, you know, Lord of the Rings, it has taters. What's taters, precious? All right. So you can do it, it's fantasy, but it's good to point out that, well, no, potatoes is not a medieval food. So a lot of tropical food you wouldn't find, so no bananas either and stuff, though some fruits, you might be surprised, actually are medieval types of fruits. For instance, they had...
Well, I would guess berries. I think that was literally where he was going just from this photo and everything. I would think berries would be pretty common. Like, berries seem to be like vastly spread out through quite a lot of different lands and everything. Oh my god, my laptop is working overtime just to like keep up with this. I'm so sorry. I don't know if any of this, what's it called, the sound generating off my laptop is like coming through the compression of the microphone. So sorry. Let's continue though. I would think berries. What else? What's a typical kind of food? Maybe also plums? I'm unsure how far they would go around and everything. I would say berries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries. Actually, I'm not too sure about blackberries. But yeah. Anything else? What can you literally pick up off the land? Like pig, I would say as well. Carrots. Carrots seemed a little bit familiar. I'm unsure if I'm right on that. Let's have them continue.
Fruits, you might be surprised, actually are medieval types of fruits. For instance, they had plums. There was European types of plums.
Ooh,
and I'll go
plums.
into more detail when we get into the specifics. But just on the matter of climate, that was also going to affect it. So, for instance, dates is a good example. But dates you only find really in warmer kind of climates, as well as, like, interestingly enough, citrus. The medieval orange is not the same as the orange that we think of. It's actually a very bitter type of fruit that would only be really palatable and eatable when you boil it down and actually cook it and work with it. Just by itself, not the nicest thing. And references to orange in medieval texts, you need a, it's not our orange, okay? It's actually, yeah, a different type of orange. Because that's the thing, food evolves and changes over time. And a lot of the fruits and foods that we have in the modern day have been carefully cultivated by basically eugenics, but on fruit. It's food, so you can do it, right? Where it modifies it, okay, through breeding.
I would also like to point out that all of that kind of stuff kind of took a little bit of a back seat when COVID came around. Because if you remember, quite a lot of people were creating their own gardens and everything, you know. We were just all bored at home and there's nothing else to do. Plus, if you didn't really trust the food around and everything, well, you might as well have made your own, which obviously would have been a lot more fresher. Me, I didn't do that. However, I live with my two uncles, and one of my uncles thought to make corn, and it was really good. It was nice. Let's continue. We'll go back a little bit.
Eugenics, but on fruit. It's food, so you can do it, right? Where it modifies it, okay, through breeding and selection and things. And because like the bananas you eat, right? You notice that there's no seeds in bananas, or if there are, they're the tiny little black specks. They're sterile, okay? We've bred bananas, so they're sterile and we don't have to deal with the seeds. But that means to actually have banana trees, we need to clone the trees. Yeah, clone trees, right? Actual banana.
Okay, I did not know this about bananas. That looks horrific and grim. Oh my god. If that was the banana that they were eating back in those days, man, like, you know, as a kid, I used to like bananas and everything. That would fuck me right off. Get that away from me. I would throw that at, like, whoever the fuck I didn't like.
Bananas have big seeds, like that's an actual fruitful banana, right? And so we change them a lot. And one of the really kind of contrasting things, for instance, melons. Yeah, there were melons and stuff in the medieval period, but have a look at paintings of a watermelon from even the Renaissance, and have a look at it. The flesh in that, there's barely any red flesh, okay? And
is that the proper way of saying Renaissance? Is it Renaissance? I'm unsure with the familiar with the terminology and everything. I would say I'm new to that kind of aspect. I think that's a part of LARPing. If not, please don't crucify me. I'm just a weeb.
Renaissance, and have a look at it. The flesh in that, there's barely any red flesh, okay? And we've grown and modified our fruit by selection, okay, to make them into a...
Is absolutely correct with that. We have done a lot to our food like process and everything, because if you remember, I think it took the guy about 7 years before he actually created seedless grapes, like a fully fleshed out lot of orchards and everything that would start to produce those and everything. And the process was like a really long time. He just kept growing the grapes and everything until obviously he got lesser seeds in some, and so he kept regrowing those ones, and he did the exact same process down through the strains until we have the seedless grapes known as today. Oh, think about it, that's like pretty messed up. Imagine if you were to do that with people where like you kept breeding people until they couldn't breed themselves no more. You know how fucked it would be. Let's continue.
Our fruit by selection, okay, to make them into a lot more edible, a lot sweeter oftentimes. We select for the amount of pulp or flesh on the fruit, the flavor as well. And so things change over time. And so some of the foods and fruits and things that I'll be mentioning here will be slightly different. And where I know the differences, I'll mention them. And if I miss a couple, share in the comments below if you know them as well. On the note of expensive food, it's actually remarkable how cheap and affordable some really great food is in the modern day in contrast. And one of the things that really stand out to me is like spices. Do you know how prized cinnamon was in the medieval period? Well, you're probably coming here to find that out. Yes, cinnamon was very prized in the medieval period, as well as other spices. They often came from very far off.
You know what? Okay, I didn't even think about cinnamon, but like, if they had cinnamon back in the days, you think they ever tried cinnamon toast? Oh wait, did they have the sugar to like do it as well? I don't know. Can you have cinnamon just on toast as it is? I don't think it'd be as good as like when you do have a little bit of sugar on top of it. You know, that melted butter, sugar, cinnamon toast. It's so good. It's so good. I am getting hungry. See, I chose to watch this video before lunchtime, so like right after this, I'm eating. Let me go back.
Very prized in the medieval period, as well as other spices. They often came from very far off places, and as a result, were very...
You know what? Something else I want to say. This is the first time I've seen this channel. However, like, this guy is well spoken. I quite like him.
Very expensive and prized in the upper class. But as I mentioned, in the modern day, we can get access to all those spices at a very affordable cost. But what's interesting is that we often don't take advantage of the great culinary options we have available, because we get stuck into the basic run-of-the-mill stuff that we usually get into, which is why the sponsor of this video is not only very topical, but also will help you open up your options in your diet, and that is HelloFresh. For this HelloFresh, we are cooking...
For those watching right now, on my channel, I want to make it specific, like pretty obvious, that I will watch ads if you place them in your videos. You did the work of creating the video, and you have an ad, sure, we play it.
Chicken dippers. I first tried HelloFresh long before they were ever a sponsor, and it was through a similar promo as the one I'm able to offer to you through this sponsorship. I was able to get a free meal, I tried it out, I loved it, and I've been using it ever since. I mean, it's free food, why not give it a go, and it's really delicious. Ooh. With this meal, it's not necessarily all medieval ingredients. That's some of the... So, it's sweet potato, okay?
I love his outfits, man. Like, damn. I kind of wish I had some of these, but it's just too bad that I live in like a really hot area, so I would get like, this is suicide if I was to wear this. Let me go back a bit.
All medieval ingredients. That's some of the so sweet potato. Okay, but we are using a very medieval.
Wait, that's sweet potato?
Authentic medieval flavouring, which was actually very available, you know. Didn't have to be rich to get the hands of rosemary.
That don't look.
For me,
That looks
there
like
were
carrots.
heaps of reasons to keep using it. There are so many delicious recipes to choose from each week, and it really did help break up what we were eating. There is this recipe rut that you just naturally fall into, where you resort to the easy, quick, tasty recipes, but they usually weren't too healthy. HelloFresh opened up the variety of our diets with really nutritious, healthy, and delicious food.
Do you know why they call it sea salt?
Because it's... No, I don't actually.
You see it. I see salt.
I'm about to commit assault.
You get it? I will commit.
I like that one.
An
I'm
assault
about
right
to
now.
commit assault.
I committed a salt. I committed a salt. I'm salty this thing. Do you get it?
It saves time and is really effortless. HelloFresh offers 50 menu and market items to choose from every week, including vegetarian, calorie smart, and gourmet options. It's just heaps of variety.
Wait till the pan gets hot before you put the olive oil in.
No.
No, that's how... Otherwise it'll spit. Shad.
Is this triggering you, Oz? Is this triggering you?
I turn that down a bit for you, by the way.
No. Who's cooking
Oh my
here,
god,
Oz?
the video keeps
The
pausing.
thing is, you can actually do a lot of this with, you know,
I would like to say that the video pausing is not because of my internet, it is because I am recording this video and yeah, I don't know, what do you call it? I know it's bitrate for when live streaming and everything, but I think it's the same aspect and it's kind of like because I have a really high bitrate for recording, it's slowing down everything else on my laptop. I'm so sorry. Let me go back a little bit and
cooking here, Oz.
You're gonna burn it.
The thing is, you can actually do a lot of this with, you know, medieval like flour. Of course, they had eggs. They had okay, and you can make a nice spice mix with flavors and things.
Also, to keep in mind, the holidays are approaching and they can be hectic.
Oh, it's spitting! It's spitting flying in my face! I'm burning! Shut up!
I can't see it.
Backseat cooker.
Backseat cooker.
But HelloFresh helps keep things simple with recipes and
Wait, what's the
ingredients
food that he's
cut
making,
out
though?
grocery shopping and reduces meal prep
I don't know what
time
that
so
bit
you can
is.
spend more time in the festival season with friends and family.
You're gonna toss that salad?
I am such a salad tosser. You could almost call me just a tosser.
Also, by using HelloFresh, it actually cuts down your food waste by at least 25% compared to grocery shopping. And I've experienced that in my own life. There are many things that we buy when we go grocery shopping that we don't end up using fully in the meals that we make, and we end up just throwing out.
oh, okay, that is a very good point. So like, yeah, that's a very good selling point and everything if you're gonna do an ad for like some food thing. What is that?
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Is that chicken or
And you can
fish?
try this out too. All you have to do is go to hellofresh.com/Shadiversity14 and use code Shadiversity14 for up to 14 free meals and 3 free gifts. It's delicious, it's totally worthwhile.
I ain't
and
gonna lie, that
free
sounds
food.
like a
So why
really
not
good
give it
deal.
a go? And thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video.
And I mean,
fellas, dig in.
yeah, just like, look at it. Oh my god, all of their outfits. Bro, this is sick. Okay, I already subscribed to them just before watching this video and everything. But like, okay, I got a new channel to watch. Like, this is cool. Let me go back a
Why
little
not
bit.
give it a go? And thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video.
All right, fellas, dig in. Hey, Ollie.
Wait, would you consider aioli medieval?
really like aioli.
Use a fork, you bloody animal.
I'm eating like
Fuck
I didn't
off.
believe some.
Actually, they did eat a lot with their hands. You're right.
There you go.
But they did have the fork. Not a lot of people use it, and it was like a dual-pronged fork. It was more like a skewer.
I'm not a medieval king, okay? I'm a dude who, you know.
Okay, this guy is me.
Can't finish it off either, huh?
I'll finish it. I just need that moment of digestion.
No, the video pause.
My tummy's so full now.
Alright. Very good stuff.
Very good stuff. So, That's HelloFresh?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You sound so fake.
Okay.
This guy is so mean. Like, this is how I would sell the product. Wow. Minimum effort, maximum result.
We're keeping both in. Definitely.
No, seriously, that's great.
Really good. And I'm serious about that. I used HelloFresh well before they sponsored me on the channel. So this is something I can recommend wholeheartedly.
Ooh.
And it did exactly that. It actually...
That's another
it,
good
one,
selling
improved my
point.
diet, but also the food that we're eating was just more varied and more nutritious and delicious on top of that as well. So I really recommend it. All right, let's get back to food that an adventurer would eat from a more kind of medieval historical perspective. Both things that you can forage, but things that you can take with you as rations. So the first kind of obvious thing before we actually get to rations that you will store and carry with you, which obviously there's going to be those, but there's going to be foraging, okay? The rations are longer lasting, and so they should really be the last resort. These are the things that you eat when you can't find anything else because they'll last longer. But if you come across food that you can simply forage, catch or hunt, definitely going to get that first and eat it first because you don't have the means to preserve them so they last longer.
Your
so looking
fish,
at native
your
European
pig,
types of foods, and this is foods that you could find in Britain
your stag.
or Europe, sometimes in both locations, but sometimes in one or the other. Definitely many types of berries. So you're looking at blackberries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, red currants, cowberries, elderberries, and then some berries I've never even heard of, like Roma berries,
He already named, like, berries that I didn't even know of. I didn't think cranberries. I don't know, were they that common? And yeah, I was thinking, like, I didn't know blackberries were that common as well. All those other ones, elderberries, and let me go back a little bit.
So you're looking at blackberries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, red currants, cowberries,
Cowberries. I actually haven't heard of these before. I might see if there's some at the store and everything.
blackberries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, red currants, cowberries, elderberries, and then some berries I've never even
Elderberries I haven't heard before either, but I have seen something that looks like that.
heard of, like Roma berries, hawthorn berries and things. But yeah, medieval berries, you can forage them, find them, and of course these would really only be in the summer, so the time of year would be important for these ones as well.
Oh, true.
Nuts though, you can certainly forage for nuts, hazelnuts,
didn't even think
acorns,
that.
walnuts, and there's one called beech nuts, I think. Beech must they are, and they look a bit like chestnuts. Now aside from berries, nuts, there's also fruits, of course. One of the more common ones that you'd be able to find would be apples, but here's a bit of a difference, okay? The more common type of apple of the medieval period would be more like a crab apple than the actual fleshy big apples we have in the modern day. There are some examples of possible, you know, early predecessor types of these apples around in this time, but crab apples are far more common. There's also grapes, pears, plums, cherries, and all of them would vary by region or climate, but there's a good variety of fruits, berries, nuts, all that you could try and find, and it'll be much more successful in the summer, of course. In fact, I found an interesting reference called the Naturalis Historia. It's a period source that lists the types of fruits that are, you know, available in Italy specifically. 15 varieties of olive, the pomegranate, peach, grape, 12 kinds of plum.
Wait, what was a pomegranate? I've heard of that name before, but I actually haven't seen
Lists the types of fruits that are, you know, available in Italy specifically. 15 varieties of olive, the pomegranate, peach.
Damn it. Stupid.
Available in Italy specifically. 15 varieties of olive, the pomegranate.
I don't know, that kind of looked like a, what's it called? Passion fruit to me, just like with how much seeds there was. Obviously, this doesn't look like it though.
Peach, grape, 12 kinds of plum, 30 kinds of apple, 41 kinds of pear, 29 varieties of figs, nuts, which is more the generic term for...
Figs I haven't tasted before. I don't know if we can get them in New Zealand.
walnut, hazelnut, and almond, the chestnuts and cherries, and a few fruits that we don't really have around the modern day. The sorb, and also the carob, which is the fruit of the European cornel.
What
There's
the
a lot of
fuck is
vegetable-
that? That looks like a shit ton of goat's horns that have turned evil.
And also the carob, which is the fruit of the European cornel. there's a lot of vegetables that you could forage as well, and a lot that you probably don't really are aware of because they're more kind of considered now survival food, where it's not cultivated a lot, but there are cultivated greens you'd be able to find, such as Brussels sprouts, cabbage, beans, peas, onions, turnips, and many more. In addition to the types of things that...
Me personally, I hate Brussels sprouts. Oh my god. Ugh. They are like, the taste of them is too powerful for me.
Beans, peas, onions, turnips, and many more. In addition to the types of things that you can forage, then there are...
Wait, what about your chilies? Wouldn't you be able to get chilies and everything? How common were they in those days?
Turnips, and many more. In addition to the types of things that you can forage, then there are setting traps and also hunting if the adventurer has time. Rabbit being a very, common and available one. Also the pheasant, and sometimes even rat and mice if the adventurer is particularly hungry. Yeah. But then there is larger game that can hunt. Boars can be a bit dangerous if you're going after wild boars, all right? They they can be actually very dangerous animals. But deer as well, if it's actually legal to even hunt deer in the area you are in. Is this a king's forest? But these are just a number of examples of food that you could find along your travels, which I think the average adventurer is always at least gonna grab some, like, especially if he's traveling and he passes like a berry bush or a couple of nice greens that he could throw into, the food at night, everything, just grab along the way, just pause for a couple of minutes, grab what you want, put them in pouches and stuff as you're traveling, especially if you also see game and you have, the equipment to be able to take him out, like a bow or something. You see a rabbit just there. Venturers are pretty good shots, and there's dinner. And then you have longer lasting kind of preserved foods that you can fall back on. But not only that, you would actually kind of combine them.
These are kind of what I want to really nail down, the preservative kind of food. It kind of shows like he's showing crackers and everything. I don't know if like crackers were for like that kind of stuff, but he's also showing cheese. So I don't know if like this is like a proper representation of what he's meaning.
Because if you're foraging along the way, you'd actually want to try and push the food to go a bit further. And also some of the rations that you can store are not very tasty, and so you'd want to combine them and mix them up. And this is where we come to just, what about basic flavoring? And I think the average adventurer would always carry like a pouch of salt or some garlic cloves, all right? Salt, of course, very common in the medieval period. It was not worth as much as gold. Lloyd of Lindy Beach actually has a great video. And while we're giving shout-outs, if you want to see some in-depth kind of examples of historical food, not just from the medieval period, but from many areas, check out Tasting History. It's a phenomenal YouTube channel, and he actually finds period recipes, makes them as accurate that is as he can, and then also gives them a bit of a taste as well. Awesome
that sounds
guy,
really
brilliant
good.
channel. Check that out as well if you want even further.
I will save that. I'll look at some of those videos for like next month.
There are kind of examples of historical food that you can adapt into your fantasy, whether that's something you're writing or you're role-playing or anything. So, as I was saying, I think every adventurer would definitely be carrying salt. The amount, it will vary. Sometimes you'd only want to carry enough to flavor your food, but you might actually want to carry some so you can preserve some food along the way as well. Salt is a great preservative. It draws out the moisture from the food, and it can preserve food up to months. And so imagine, if you nabbed a deer, and look, a deer will already provide way too much meat for you to carry just a regular person, but if you've got a pack animal, but if you just wanted to dry or preserve a good haunch of the deer, okay, you just need to rub salt around it, put it in a sack, and as long as it's covered in salt, you don't need the sack full of salt. So if you had like a pouch of salt, maybe yay big, that might actually be enough to preserve some stuff, and then you have like a whole haunch of meat that you can carry with you on some stuff, and then you have like a whole haunch of meat that you can carry with you on your horse or whatever, and that could provide food for easily maybe a week or more. In terms of flavoring, okay, there's actually things that an adventurer could forage, and if they've grown up in this world, just like a medieval person, they'll be aware of the types of flavoring that they could find along their travels, and if they see it, they might just grab some as well. Hey, I'll chuck that in my stew tonight. Because it is a huge misconception, I hate this, and I've come across it more than once, where people think the food of the medieval period was blended bland, tasteless, and dull. And it's not. I mean, well, a good example, watch some of the videos from Tasting History. But not only that, like they had salt, people. They loved garlic. And man, garlic is one of the great flavors. I love garlic, right? Just garlic steak, garlic pork,
yeah,
you know?
true.
But there are
Ooh,
also
that
a
looks
whole
good.
heap of other very affordable, easily accessible flavoring options. Mint, thyme, oregano, rosemary, chives, horseradish.
What is it? The Holy Trinity of... I've forgotten the name of it, but it's like rosemary, thyme, and there's 3 that you keep with you at all times. They're in the Bible. I haven't read the Bible, but like, yeah, apparently they're pretty good for like various amounts of meals and everything that you can make. Let's go back a little
Flavoring
bit.
options. Mint, thyme, oregano, rosemary, chives, horseradish, basil, pepper, sage.
I think it's rosemary, mint, thyme. Oh wait, fuck it. Actually, I can't remember. Never mind. I should just listen to these. Oregano though. What have I known that from? Is that from ESO or? Sorry about the face. Med.
Great flavors. I love garlic, right? Just garlic steak, garlic pork, you know? But there are also a whole heap of other very affordable, easily accessible flavoring options. Mint, thyme, oregano, rosemary, chives, horseradish, basil, pepper, sage, nutmeg, ginger. And that's not to mention other flavor additions that you can find along the way, like honey, eggs, milk, cream. If you, those don't last too long, but you can still carry some with you for a day or two. But eggs, that'll last a good couple of days, but they could be fragile. Cheese and butter, though, my goodness, that'll last a good while. And remember, you can flavour your food with the other sweet things like fruits and berries as well. They might also carry a bit of honey with them on top of that, and honey basically lasts forever. And this is just some examples of the wide variety of herbs they can add to give flavour to their food as well as other things. And so you could make some banging dishes in the medieval period. And as to the adventurer, well, if he just had a couple of these things, or he finds along the way, hey, there's a bit of sage, grab some sage along the way. Oh, rosemary, hey, look at that. And people would be very familiar with these things. So, covered a lot of things that you can find along the way in terms of foraging, hunting, trapping. And did I mention fish? Of course, you would be catching fish if you're near a water source. And this comes up to the next part, is actually water. All right? Not every water source was clean in the medieval period, but it's an utter misconception to say that none of them were clean. There would have been so many clean sources of water in the medieval period, and people drank water a lot. We kind of live off water, all right? I've already addressed this in, well, I think it's my first medieval misconception.
Wait, do people
video,
not
where
know
people
that?
say that medieval people only drank ale, all right? Now, of course, there were some risks of unclean water, and if you
Bruh, that's like saying nowadays people don't drink water, people only drink fizzy drink and everything. Like, no. Get your head out of the fucking clouds, my man.
drank ale, all right? Now, of course, there were some risks of unclean water, and if you didn't have access to clean water along your travel, that would be the preference. But if you don't have access to it, you need to carry some with you, so definitely in type of water skin or water-containing vessel. And when you carry water with you, there is actually a chance the water, it could be clean when you first get it, but water can turn bad, all right? There are
Wait, it
certain
can?
microbes and germs and everything that can grow and multiply, depending how it's stored, it can just go sour, bad, and you can get sick
depending on
drinking
how
it.
it's
And
stored.
so one of the things that we see historical people doing, like for instance Romans even did this, adding some alcohol or other types of things to the water to help kill germs, basically. They weren't aware of germs, but they knew it helped preserve the water. And it wouldn't be like, you know, just carrying wine with you. It would be very watered down, but they would add wine to it, or ale,
Okay.
sometimes vinegar,
Smart.
okay? And yeah, like vinegar water was a thing, and it helped preserve the water, made it last longer. It's not to say they just drank straight vinegar. Gee, I wonder what that would be like. All right, so preserving, keeping water clean. And this is a fun, interesting thing that you might want to do if you're role-playing or something like that, is just roll a chance dice to see if the water or rations they're carrying, something could go, could certain bugs get into them, or could the water turn bad? Did they take account? Did they preserve it right? Now, the players probably wouldn't know this, but if they're playing characters in the world, they would most likely be aware of these normal, everyday things that you do in life to just get by. And so you can pretend they just do it automatically, but it's good to just be aware of it, know of it, especially if you're writing stories and things. And so with water covered, we come to the actual rations you can carry. And you might have noticed I have some food in front of me, and these are choice examples of types of longer lasting food that would be some of the first options I feel a medieval adventurer would carry. And we start right here where the more affordable food, okay, is food that is...
I didn't even think about this. Mushrooms. Mushrooms definitely medieval, right? Like with how far they spread across lands and everything, I would definitely think. It's just finding the good ones though. Yeah.
And we start right here where the more affordable food, okay, is food that is derived from grains, primarily wheat or barley. But you're not going to carry raw wheat or barley with you because it takes time to prepare and it's nowhere near as dense and it's also heavy, okay? By actually processing the wheat and barley, grinding it down into flour and then cooking it, you make the nutrition far more dense. Now, in terms of bread though, bread actually has a decent amount of air in it, and it can be very fluffy, and so bread isn't the best thing that you would carry because it would take up too much room. You would want dense types of bread like flatbreads and other types of wheat flour derived things like they would have had something like hardtack. Hardtack is a more modern term, and this is just a water cracker, but it's a placeholder for hardtack, which is basically flour, water, salt, baked, and it's really stiff, really hard. It lasts for a good long time, all right? And I think stuff like this, many people have known of it for a good while. And so that would be one of the first things. And hardtack like biscuits or crackers would be a pretty affordable, not very tasty, but if you're looking at some of the cheapest, long-lasting, readily available food, yeah, just like this, and adventure would have it in the pouches. It wouldn't be too palatable, but there...
Okay, I never knew of this. That's pretty interesting though, like hardtack. Flour, water, and shit. I should have paid attention. I'll go back later.
Lasting, readily available food, yeah, just like this, and adventure would have it in the pouches. It wouldn't be too palatable, but there are other ways you can do it to make it more enjoyable to eat. Because I'm not saying this wouldn't be the only thing, especially if the adventurer, traveler has a bit more money to spare, but if they got nothing else, they could live off of simple cooked flour that was combined with a bit of water and salt and voila, you got a really solid kind of thing. Or again, like some dense types of breads as well would be common on top of that. Because the main theme or rule of thumb that you'd have with rations is things that don't weigh too much, but are dense. And so dense can grow weight, but if it's dense, it has high nutritional value for little volume. And that means a lot of dried foods, okay? And so I've got dried fruits here. And if you wanted something sweet, easy to eat, dried apples, okay? You could have dried plums as well, things like that. Very, very common. And so just for something sweet, a pouch of just some dried fruit as well. Dried meats, and this is smoked meats, dried meats, and so also other types of preserved meats, like salami is a type of preserved meat that lasts a good long while, and jerky, okay, that'll last you a good while, and ham would be the more common type of meat, because that's what the more common meat was for average people in the medieval period. Pork, ham, pig, it was eaten a lot. And then, of course, we have...
Wait, I wouldn't have thought that. I thought that would be more like kept to your home kind of thing in like those times. I didn't realize, it's that valuable to carry around as well. Because that's a big game changer. And like, if you can take ham around with you and everything, you can cook ham with like quite a lot of different things. And so like, yeah, while on the road and everything, just like picking up things as you go along, like he said, that's pretty good. I wouldn't have thought of ham to be such. That's pretty cool.
People of the medieval period. Pork, ham, pig, it was eaten a lot. And then, of course, we have cheeses. Now, there are some foods that I'll mention a little bit later.
For a moment there, I thought he said Jesus.
Actually, eaten just by themselves, but they really were historically, because their nutritional density is very high and they last for a good while. But before we get there, there is, of course, the idea of just combining it. Because if you have water, and this would depend if you had the means to prepare or cook, because the adventurer might not have any cookery with him, all right? So no pots, no pans or anything. He just kind of, if he catches a rabbit, he makes a spit out of some tree branches, sticks or whatever, and then he just needs to eat his rations a bit
Or
raw
kebab.
right out of his pouches and stuff. But if you had at least like a pot or a pan, and this could include like a ceramic jug. Medieval people often cooked in ceramic jugs, and they were called pottages. And so a pottage was basically a stew cooked in a type of vessel, right? Very common in the medieval period. And if you had anything like that, well, that's when you could probably improve your options if you had, because what you can do to thicken up a stew is chuck some hardtack or whatever that's flour derived. It'll boil and then render down in the stew, thicken it up, adds more nutrition, you're adding flour to it and everything like that, and it's a lot better than just eating raw baked flour like that. And you can have a somewhat nice stew, especially if you got, dried meat, okay? It's a bit hard and tough, but as soon as you put it in a stew, it infuses the moisture back into it, makes it soft, makes it more enjoyable, and then you can find all those flavor options along the way, add salt and everything in. And so, I think it'd be fairly easy for an adventurer to just carry some type of pot or something to just throw things that he finds along the way. If he has water, bang, you can make a stew, you can make it really flavorful, make it enjoyable, nutritious, and you can carry then some very dense, nutritious, long-lasting supplies, but make them more enjoyable to eat at the end of the day. Because I don't think adventurers, if they have no other option, they're going to eat whatever they have to survive, but if they can improve the taste a bit along the journey, and it's not too much effort if they only need to carry some type of vessel to do it, I think they would. And then they can add other things, like cheese is a very dense, longer lasting type of food, and that can add a lot of flavor to a stew, and it can just be eaten by itself, of course. And then you might be carrying some other things that you might not have really thought of that could have been just base food that you ate raw by itself. And yeah, so what I'm talking about, lard and say butter. Both those things have huge nutrition in them. Lard is basically just fat. But if you wanted to eat something that had huge amounts of energy that can keep you going, and yes, guess what? Sometimes Roman legionaries were just given a ration of lard as part of their daily food intake. All right? And butter as well. Sometimes people just ate butter straight. High nutrition, very dense, lasts a good while. There we go. Breaking down some of the common rations, of course, you would have hardtack like biscuits and crackers, flatbreads, dried fruits, dried or smoked meats, cheeses, and anything that you can really forage along the way. And you have a fairly good basis for...
Ew, I want oat cookies.
the types of rations an average medieval adventurer would logically have. Of course, I don't think I've covered everything. Is there anything I missed? Are there some common types of foods, rations, long-lasting things that you could share in the description below? I mean, I was going to talk about pemmican, but pemmican is a later kind of period thing, and it's basically dried meat with lard mixed together and then dried again into like these bricks, lasted for ages, had heaps of nutrition in it. I didn't find any reference of pemmican again is more 18th century. Townsend's great YouTube channel again has videos about pemmican, how to make it and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if the medieval period had a pemmican-like kind of thing made, because it's literally just dried meat and lard kind of put together. Lasts a good long while, but I haven't found any references for it. And so, but it's still really interesting about long-lasting kind of trail food that you can find. And I'm mentioning it because, remember, you are in fantasy, and so if you wanted, you could, if you do it knowingly, add certain things that perhaps weren't in the medieval period into your own fantasy if you wanted it, if it suited the setting you're working with, or if you could justify it. And so it's kind of good to know what other options are there, and I'd love to hear some of the things that you could share in the comments below as well. Yet, of course, if you want a wholly more authentic kind of representation of what the medieval period was like, and you're doing fantasy that is very medieval inspired, I hope you have a good kind of basis to go off. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. And of course, I hope to see you here on the next video on Shadiversity. So until that time, farewell.
W video. This was really good. I just chose this just because it was in my recommendation and everything, but like, this is pretty good. I quite like this video. This was definitely worth it to watch and everything. I want to read some of the comment sections, man. What is it that... Stupid YouTube. Don't just switch videos on me. Like, what the fuck is that? Pause. Pause.
Shadiversity.
Oh my god. OBS is ruining my internet experience right now. Okay, I want to see some of these. One moment. Let me read some of these. Don't forget pastries. Medieval people loved their baked pastries, sweet honey cakes, various fried doughs, and of course infamous pies. I don't think he I think it was good, the amount of information that he had in the video and everything. Like, I do trust these as well. Yeah, I think he was more or less like going on what a lot of, like, he created a very good mini ground, a good mid ground. I mean, not mini, a good mid ground for what adventurers would have taken and everything. These were not modern pies, but more like self-canned meals. That actually does make me remember something, that they did used to use pies as a sort of canned food and everything. You would bake a fancy, thick, deep crust bowl with lid and then make the filling. Yeah. Limbus bread. How could you miss this? That's, wait, what? I thought Limbus bread was... Isn't that Lord of the Rings? Best ration that is definitely based in reality. One cake that would feed a full-grown man for a day, and a pippin for an hour. What's a pippin? I don't know. For your information, as far as drinking vinegar goes, our modern vinegars are far more acidic than homemade vinegars tend to get, especially ultra processed type like distilled white vinegar. I've made fruit-based vinegars of sort that could be easily be made into medieval kitchen and can actually be quite pleasant and refreshing to sip, even straight from the bottle, and are downright delicious when watered down. Okay. Fun fact, in the Middle East, we still use clay ceramic pot and dishes for some of our old cuisines. Yeah. I made that kind of connection and everything, like with what this post is kind of saying. The pot like kind of thing. Obviously, like, compared to medieval times and everything, people do still like have, you know, their food made, and some people do have their food made like as if it was in medieval times and everything. That, I don't think that's going away anytime soon, still even now. But yeah, this was a really good video to watch. This was a lot better than what I was kind of thinking. I was expecting like he was gonna make some food and everything. Well, technically he did make some food and everything, but like, yeah, this was good. Anyway, once again, this video, the link will be in a pinned comment down below, so be sure to check them out and subscribe to, what's the name of this channel again? Oh, I'm gonna butcher this again. Shadiversity? I think I got that right. Hopefully. But anyway, that's me. I'm out. Goodbye.